Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year, and I would first like to welcome our newest member to the board, Peter Piazza. Welcome, and we look forward to working with you. Now, we never got that round of applause when we joined, so hats off to you. So, glad to see you all. Our next meeting will take place on Monday, February 2nd at 6 p.m. here in the chamber. This evening's agenda will consist of the following. As always, we'll pledge allegiance to our flag. We'll then take a moment of silence for our veterans. We'll call the roll to ensure that we have a quorum sufficient to allow us to gather. And then we'll get into this evening's agenda, which consists of the following. First, under the consent agenda, we'll take a look at the minutes from December 8th, 2025, as well as the minutes from January 5th. We'll also see if there will be a motion to approve the warrants from December 2025. From there, we'll go to public comment. We will have 15 minutes of public comment, 3 minutes per speaker. We only ask that you state your name and address for the record. After that, we'll go to our school superintendent, where he is going to give an update on strategic planning. After him, we'll go to motions of resolutions, of which there are 4. First will be a discussion of the NRT contract. We'll then also assign this year's subcommittees. We'll then take up a donation to Choral Arts at Malden High School, and then we'll entertain the calendar for school year 2027. After that, everyone will take points of personal privilege, and then we will entertain a motion to go into executive session for 2 reasons. First is we'll take a look at the minutes from December 8th, 2025, and then we will discuss contract negotiations with non-union personnel, specifically the BB School Most Site Coordinator. We then will come back from executive session of where we may act on this item when we return. But either way, from there, we will move adjournment again until February 2nd. So any questions, everyone? All right, hearing none, let's rise and salute our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask everyone to please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of all those who have fought for our country and continue to do so today. Thank you. All right, we'll now have our clerk call the roll.
Mayor Christensen?
Here.
Mr. Drummy? Here. Ms. McCarthy? Here. Ms. Spatafora?
Here.
Ms. Macklin? Ms. Horty?
Here.
Mr. Piazza? Here. Mr. Bernard? Here. Ms. Rose Zyberg? Here. Superintendent Tippel?
Here. Dawn is here. She's coming in via Zoom.
But I am unable to promote her to...
Okay, we'll keep working on that. But for everyone here, Ms. Macklin is in attendance via remote. All right, so with us having a member coming in remotely, we'll take roll calls on all of the motions as the law calls us to do. Let's do this. So the consent agenda, let's take these separately. First, the December 8th, 2025 minutes. Motion by Mr. Drummy, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any discussion on those? Let's go to Ms. Horty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Just a couple of small clerical things I wanted to address. In public comment, section 2, I think it's supposed to be Mr., not Ms.
Okay.
And I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows, Ms. Jessica Gold Boots is gold hyphenated capital B Boots, right? If anyone know, I just want to make sure that that's correct for the record. I know it's hard when people just give our names. We want to make sure that they're spelled properly and we address everybody. Those are the things that I found in here. Please, if anyone else has anything, let me know.
Anybody else? Okay, so noted. Let's call the roll.
Mr. Drummy? Yes. Mr. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza? Yes. Mr. Bernard? Yes. Ms. Rose Iberg? Yes. Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. All right, everyone, next up, January 6th. Now strike that, January 5th, 2026. Any motions? Motion by Mr. Bernard, seconded by Ms. Spatafora. Any questions, queries, qualms about those minutes? Hearing none, let's call the roll.
Mr. Drummy? Yes. Mr. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza? Yes. Mr. Bernard? Yes. Ms. Rose Iberg? Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. Next up,
Yes.
motion to approve the warrants from December 2025. Motion by Ms. Spatafora, seconded by Mr. Bernard. You've had a chance to look those over. Any questions, queries, qualms, concerns? Hearing none?
Mr. Drummy? Yes. Mr. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza? Yes. Mr. Bernard? Yes. Ms. Rose Iberg? Yes. Mayor Christensen?
Yes, it carries unanimously. All right, everyone, let's go to public comment. Again, this is an opportunity for members of the community to address the school committee. We only ask that you state your name and address for the record, and we will allocate 3 minutes per speaker. Let's do this. Who wants to kick off the new year? Sure.
For those participating via Teams, please use the raise hand function, and I can call upon you when I see a hand up.
Good evening.
Hi.
Let us just set the clock. Take it away.
Okay. So my name is Dr. Liz Tanagbanwa, 31 Grace Street. Good evening, members of the school committee. I'm here tonight to share once again the concerns from the BB regarding Course Mojo. After some frustrating experiences with district leaders recently, I'm coming back to the school committee and mayor to ask for your help again. I'm calling on the district to halt plans for expanding the use of the program. In November, I came here and raised concerns that Course Mojo implementation is hindering teacher-student relationships and is stunting the development of student voice. Course Mojo should not be used as Tier 1 instruction. Research shows how it weakens critical thinking and cognitive skill development. It's frustrated students and, most importantly, impeded the learning of marginalized groups. I had hoped that we would find a way to course correct. That has not happened, and I'm even more concerned. The use of Course Mojo has been described as a pilot, but this does not seem to be accurate. We are halfway through the year, and not only do we not have metrics to measure whether Course Mojo has been effective, we have no plans to measure its effectiveness, and no control group to compare the metrics to. The district did not use iReady data to inform them of who to invite into the pilot or who can exit the pilot. There is no measure of success. There is no threshold that will determine whether or not the pilot continues. Nothing about this describes a pilot program. To distract from the lack of a cohesive plan, I was tone policed for asking about district leaders' research skills at a recent meeting. Last week, when I asked about the strategy for the future, I was told that we're keeping it for the year and possibly expanding to even more grades and classes next year. That is not acceptable. The district needs to halt any plans for the expansion of Course Mojo until the results of this pilot are thoroughly communicated to caregivers so that students and families can decide whether they would like to opt in to this program. It is not okay to force any students into so-called pilot programs without their consent or the caregiver's knowledge and consent. In these Orwellian times, When our country is awash in misinformation, language matters. The last thing we need is Malden's district leaders reframing Course Mojo as a pilot with an AI-powered student tutor providing feedback. A chatbot can't tutor. Educators do that. AI blurbs aren't feedback. The chatbot cannot provide targeted ways to support students' writing. Only educators do that. Lastly, you invite caregivers to something you call a forum. However, at the event, families are demoralized into using a QR code to write comments. That is not a forum. There is no free exchange of ideas happening whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to address the committee can do so now. Anybody online? All right, we're going to go online, and then we'll come back inside.
So I'm going to call on, I can't see a full name here. I'm going to, thank you, Caitlin Peel-Sloan. I'm going to allow Mike, if you can test that out, can you hear us and speak?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great, thank you. My name is Caitlin Peel-Sloan, 69 Columbia Street. And I just wanted to amplify Dr. Tonik-Manua's concerns about the Course Mojo project. I have been honored to serve on the district's AI task force working group, where we're kind of feeling out policies and guidance for the district. And it just really flies in the face of having that process to hear that just some district leadership are doubling down on this project that, it's expressed as a pilot, but there's no way to assess the outcome. And they seem to already have prejudged that they need to expand it. And everything I've heard reported from families who are being exposed to this product right now are that students' work kind of disappears into the black box of Course Mojo. Their responses are not tracked, and the teacher can't see what they're writing. And that's just an incredibly concerning feature that I don't want our kids exposed to. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else wishing to address the committee can do so now.
Good evening. My name's Amanda Linehan. I'm a Ward 3 resident and a city councilor. I reside at 83 Bloom Earth Street. I'm also here tonight as a BB parent to express my concerns over the generative AI tool Course Mojo that's being used in my daughter's 7th grade ELA classroom. I am also hoping that we can pause its implementation. So I want to start by stating that I actually do use Gen AI tools professionally. I understand their place in our society. I know they have vast potential for efficiency and automation, and that they also present risks around privacy, ethics, racial bias, and potential for misuse. But tonight, I'm focused solely on our children and the predatory tech companies that legally cannot access them unless we as adults open that door. I'm concerned that instead of proactively evaluating the safety and the educational necessity of tools like Course Mojo, we've opted instead into this pilot simply because it appeared within software that we're already contracted to use, or that the software company has provided some type of training in Course Mojo because they stand to gain from data mining our students. And unfortunately, my child seems to have had the misfortune of being randomly selected for a program that I feel is now harming them. So my daughter's 12, and she actually won't turn 13, which is the FTC's age of consent for data collection, until late this summer. Yet she is automatically enrolled into this pilot without myself having advance notice or having given permission for that. I don't know why she was selected. I don't have any data on what it's measuring on her. Her other assessments show that she's reading and writing well above grade level, yet that does not seem to be what Course Mojo is actually providing her to work on. Now, I'm not an educator, but I have not seen a lot of evidence that it's modulating rigor based on individual student level based on my child's experience. I only know the grade level that she works at and what it's providing to her. When I've had the opportunity to observe the tool when she's brought her Chromebook home, I've been disturbed by what I've seen. Setting aside the fact that it is another screen-based module when our kids are asking for more real books, what's disturbed me is that I see the bot interrupting the kids when they're working, which, if you're neurodivergent or neurotypical, is a lot. It's interrupting them, it's giving them a hard time when they're trying to focus. My daughter loves to write, and I've actually had to reach the point where I've advised her to actually use Google Docs instead, because she just can't get through her assignments any other way. It interrupts so many times, or it gets caught almost in a loop where it contradicts itself, and then you have to give it like a garbage answer just to get it to move on. So it's not even giving you the accurate answer to get the right solution.
Counselor, you're at 3 minutes. Are you wrapping up?
I am wrapping up. So my ask tonight is just that we put a stop to plans to expand the pilot and look more critically at future curricula that we're considering adopting, and also that we allow people to opt in, not automatically enroll our kids in pilots like this. Thank you.
Got it. All right, anybody else wishing to address the committee can do so now, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Shalene Title. I live in Ward 5. I'm a Linden parent. I've actually had a great experience with ELA with my middle school child. He's in a literacy block where he reads actual books with his peers, and we were able to work with the teacher to replace the iReady homework with reading time. It seems really arbitrary and unfair to me that if I was at BB, I might be having a child who's using Course Mojo instead. So I wanted to come to support the other parents who are having issues and to ask you to please put a stop to the pilot, or put a stop to the pilot, because you shouldn't have to be city council president or, a PhD in education and, have the, I guess, courage, because it is tough to come up here, as a parent and complain. And I think everybody should have the opportunity to be asked, do you want to continue with this pilot or not? And to say, we've been trying this for half a year, and do you want to continue with it or not? I also just want to underscore, I was kind of tiptoeing around last summer and saying, I have concerns about AI. I don't know if anyone else does. And I think just since last summer, it's become really clear that everyone has concerns. People associate it with misinformation, with slop, with deep fakes. And so I would just ask that we take that in mind as we consider more curriculums for next year. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. All right, anybody else wishing to address the committee can do so now. Anybody else online?
Hello.
Good
I'm
evening.
Josie Morway. I live at 33 East Border Road. Many of you know me and probably know why I'm here. I just want to add my voice to the previous commenters and demanding that there's no continuation and certainly not an expansion of any pilot programs involving AI tools in our schools without a new paradigm for how these pilots are run. I'd like to remind everyone that there's a very strong coalition of parents, students, and teachers who want a complete prohibition on generative AI tools, chatbot-based tools, LLM-based tools in the schools altogether. That was made clear by an open letter signed by about 150 of your constituents that I know you've all received. At the very least, if these pilots are to continue, the software must be tested exclusively on classes composed of students who, along with their parents and guardians, have affirmatively chosen to interact with these AI tools. They must opt in and give affirmed consent, and opt out is onerous for the parents, confusing to teachers, embarrassing for the students, and all around sloppy to implement. I'd also like to just add that in Massachusetts, we live in an internationally renowned center of technological, educational, and medical research that many of us have worked in. There are experts right now testing the effects of AI on students and learning. Firstly, I would suggest waiting until more of that research is completed before we add it to our schools. But above all, I would say that those studies would never be conducted, just like no study on medical treatments or new drugs would ever be conducted using participants, especially minor children, who hadn't intentionally and affirmatively elected to be part of the study. It's no more ethical to test an unproven technology on our children in the classroom without their having chosen to be part of what is, at its core, an experiment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to address the committee? Okay. All right, we're going to close that portion of the meeting. We'll now hear from our school superintendent.
Good evening. And good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome, Member Piazza. Welcome back, everyone else. Thank you for the opportunity to share tonight an update regarding strategic planning. And I know later we'll also be talking about the calendar for next year. Do you have the? Yeah. All right, thank you for bearing with us with our technological challenges. Tonight's report, we're going to be talking about strategic planning update, and I'll give a brief explanation about the changes for next year's school calendar also that have a lot to do with the falling of certain holidays next year. As always, I just want to remind us of the core values that guide our work as a district, including and collaborating, embracing growth, and doing right by all kids. All of us, each of us rather, is strong alone, but we're much stronger acting together. In November, you all approved 5 goals for me for this year. The development of a 5-year strategic plan, the implementation of our district strategy for improvement, which has already been underway since last summer, a special education program review, and my participation in the new superintendent induction program for my own professional practice. Tonight, we're going to be focused on the development of a 5-year strategic plan. And in particular, by January 2026, which is right now, my charge was to present an outline of a strategic plan for the committee consideration and feedback. Just want to clarify, I'm not seeking approval of any document tonight, but I'm providing an outline to you to get your feedback and questions that I can take back with my team over the next several weeks. And that outline will contain high-level strategic goals that we'll be calling priorities. Just that term goal, I can get confused with the 4 goals that I have for the year and a lot of other goals that we have, so we'll refer to them as priorities. Potential metrics for monitoring progress, and I want to stress the word potential. A planning timeline for the spring, and opportunities for stakeholder input and involvement. So since the beginning of the year, we have been, when I say we, my cabinet and I have been really looking at the entry findings that I presented to you last June and beginning to connect the dots between those entry findings and what a strategic plan would look like over the next few years, which is what I'm sharing with you tonight. Phase 2 of the plan from now through the spring is going to be further development of that plan and getting community feedback on its elements. And then we'll be finalizing a plan, plan content and design at the end of the spring as we move into the summer. So those entry findings that I was referencing, I just want to remind us what those the highlights of those findings were. First of all, we have 4 huge sources of strength in our community: diverse and talented students, engaged parents and caregivers, committed educators and leaders, and an extremely supportive city and community overall. We also, over the course of last year, identified 6 areas for collective action: affirming high expectations for all students, adapting instruction to meet diverse needs, ensuring fair access to opportunities, partnering with families effectively, nurturing a strong workforce, and building strength and stability. And I want to just mention that you'll notice that those first 2 areas for collective action will be represented in the first priority in the strategic plan. Fair access will be represented in the second, partnering with families and the wider community in the third, and then the strong workforce and strength and stability in the fourth and fifth, which you'll see in a moment. There were also 5 other areas that were not a part of those areas for collective action that we began really acting upon last year that represented areas that there was a need for wider consensus building and more longer-term planning. And these areas included how we're serving advanced learners, our preschool and early learning, our digital literacy and computer science. And when we first conceived of this in the entry findings, artificial intelligence wasn't even really on our radar as an issue. Obviously, with our AI and learning working group, it's very much on our radar now. Expanding access to the performing arts, and then lastly, high school and post-secondary success. So the basic plan outline is structured in, will be structured with 3 major components. The priorities, what we're trying to achieve, metrics, how we will measure progress or what things we'll be looking for to see whether we're making progress, and then strategies. And I would say within the strategies, it's not only what we will do to get there, but also when. And that will be in terms of over the course of 5 years, when will these things likely take place and to what degree? Because we will not build Rome in a day. There will be things that will need to be deferred at the outset, or I should say that we'll get started on several things and a lot of things, but there'll be some things that will be prioritized towards the beginning of the plan, and others that will need to wait. So those strategic priorities are represented both in this graphic and then listed down the side. And as I foreshadowed a few minutes ago, high expectations with support to meet diverse needs is the first strategic priority. Fair access to opportunity, second. Deep partnerships, the third. Strong and supported workforce, and then financial and operational sustainability rather. And those are supporting priorities for the other 3. I'm going to speak in a little bit more detail about each of these priorities at this time. So this priority 1, high expectations with support to meet diverse needs. This is the core of everything that we do and everything that we are working on, and it will be our first and top priority going forward, to deliver rigorous, engaging and inclusive instruction in each classroom that ensures every student meets or exceeds grade level expectations, and at the end of their time with us, graduates prepared for post-secondary success. And this should include students with disabilities, multilingual learners, advanced learners, and those who need social emotional support of any kind. Potential metrics, and I just want to stress, there will be a need as we enter into the development of the plan to kind of narrow down on certain metrics. That does not mean that other metrics aren't important, but if we measure everything or if we prioritize everything, then we'll get lost. And so there will be a need to narrow down on certain metrics that will give us at least a bellwether of whether we're making the progress that we want to be making, and we're getting to the destination we want to get to. Certainly, in the current with the current accountability system that we have in our state, the percentage of students meeting state benchmarks in literacy, math, and science, it will continue to be important. So that's one potential metric that we might use to ground our progress. Another is the percentage of graduates meeting Mass Core requirements with a minimum target GPA. And the reason I mentioned the minimum target GPA is because our graduation requirements are already aligned with Mass Core. But if they are not meeting those requirements with a minimum GPA of some level, their options with that diploma, having met those requirements, will be very limited. And so, you know, but there'll be a lot more time to talk about that going forward, but really getting a good sense of what percentage of our students are meeting Mass Core requirements with, for example, a C average GPA or a B average GPA. What is that now? And what do we want it to look like over the course of 5 years? Understanding that there are lots of challenges with grading policies and a lot of other considerations, but definitely students' options are limited if they finish high school without a certain GPA in conjunction with having met Mass Core requirements. And then graduation and post-secondary rates. You know, certainly it's a very, very important that we see that the percentage of our students who are graduating on time is increasing each year. But we also want to be attentive to post-secondary enrollment. College isn't for everyone, but we want to make sure that all of our students are prepared for that opportunity. And that when they do matriculate to university, that they are able to persist to a second year, that they're able to complete a degree within a certain time frame, so that we will know that we prepared them well for that opportunity. And there are other post-secondary measures in terms of post-graduation surveys and other measures that can get at whether students, if they did not attend or did not enroll in a university, have engaged in some other life plan, whether it be in the military or the workforce or trade school or whatever it might be. But this issue of really taking stock of what our students are doing after they've left us and being responsible and taking responsibility for those students' success and for the preparation they receive from us during K-12 is, I think, very, very important. On this one, potential strategies, again, this is just potential strategies, continue and deepening our work with educators around evaluative feedback and collaborative planning. We had an outstanding professional development day today, outstanding professional development day at all of our schools that was very collaborative. Teachers, every school that I visited 5 of the 7. The energy was very, very positive. And I know the initial feedback that we've gotten from our educators was also extremely positive. And it was even more positive than the November PD, which was already very positive. So I'll share more with you about that later. But that basically, to really develop a culture where we're working with our educators to have shared responsibility for outcomes and shared responsibility for instruction and being in each other's classrooms and collaborating around planning in a way that's not punitive, that's not merely evaluative, but is really collaborative and there's the real coaching and a shared dialogue around how do we help all of our students succeed. Implementing timely and responsive tiered interventions, evaluating the assessment tools that we use to benchmark student achievement is another area that is a potential strategy. No assessment system is perfect, but we want to really be thoughtful about the assessment tools that we're using and whether they're the best on offer at this time. Further developing professional development on topics such as the differentiation of material. And you'll see in the links to current efforts that there are a lot of these things that are underway, but these potential strategies envision what they might look like further developed. So that's the first priority. The second priority is fair access to opportunity. And in this, you might say, well, how is that different from the high expectations and meeting diverse needs? This just speaks to creating and refining systems and structures and programs to ensure opportunities are accessible to all of our students, in addition to and complementing that core instruction that all of our students should be receiving through Priority 1. So exploratory and elective course enrollment data is one example that we would see to what extent are all of our students, do they have access to certain elective opportunities and exploratory opportunities. AP and early college participation. These are both programs at the high school level that give students an opportunity to get a head start on college through taking college level coursework with their teacher and taking an exam at the end of the year, or actually taking college level work dually enrolled with Bunker Hill Community College in high school. And we want to make sure that that opportunity is being afforded to students across all groups. Special education inclusion and special education achievement. The percentage of our students with a disability who are included in the regular program in regular classrooms, and whether they, regardless of the degree to which they're included, how are they achieving their goals, how are they achieving relative to state benchmarks. Access to a wide range of performing arts, and then digital literacy and skills assessments. Digital literacy in general, regardless of how one feels about AI or how one feels about particular technologies in the classroom, I think our state has a framework that envisions that all students would have the preparedness to be able to engage in an information economy when they finish school, such that they have those advantages and are able to engage and have the skills to be able to compete with whomever, wherever, in the 21st century. So one potential metric might be certain assessments that would be developmentally appropriate, that would be contextualized within projects that students are doing within their other classes, to be able to see to what degree students have those digital literacy skills and understand how to use those tools. Potential strategies, we'll speak more about this in a moment, but is the strategic allocation of resources on an annual basis, increasing accessibility of advanced courses and dual enrollment, implementing ideas and recommendations from our special education program review, which will be happening this term, and then developing a digital learning scope and sequence aligned with DESE guidance. This is another potential strategy. And again, I want to stress that these are not all things that are going to happen in any way this spring. And some of these things will not even happen next year. There'll be something that will take longer to develop. Deep partnerships constitutes priority 3, to foster trust and collaboration with families, caregivers, and the community through transparent communication, authentic engagement, and meaningful partnerships. Potential metrics in this area would include enrollment and attendance trends, and that would be in terms of the really effectively partnering with families to make sure students are in school every day. Students' sense of belonging, to what extent is that really, really robust and powerful in the data we get from our students. Caregiver satisfaction with school and district services, participation rates in family engagement events and advisory groups, and then early learning engagement. We have a partnership that's funded by the Commonwealth called the Commonwealth Preschool Partnership Initiative. And a part of that is work that we're currently doing with several preschools in the city to try to expand access of preschool to as many 4-year-olds as possible. It's a very limited grant, and we don't have nearly as many students in the city involved with preschool as we would like, but that's within the confines or the constraints of the funding that we receive and the funding that DESE provides. We're doing as well as we can. But definitely wanting to see more engagement for early learning within the limits that we have is something that we want to achieve, and that we think working with other community partners, that would be possible. Other potential strategies in this area are just improving our engagement with current families, developing outreach and welcome efforts for new and prospective families. Of particular interest in this area is really working with parents and caregivers who are future high school parents, future high school families. As you know, many of us know, the Northeast Vocational has a brand new building that it's putting the final touches on, and that will be opening this coming fall. And we want to make sure that if that's an excellent opportunity for students, that they know about it, that they are able to access it, but let them never feel like they have to go up the road to Northeast to get an excellent high school education. We want to make sure that every family knows, is fully informed of what the opportunities are here in Malden, and those opportunities continue to improve each year. Next, strong and well-supported workforce to recruit, develop, and retain a diverse and talented team through competitive compensation, professional growth, and a collaborative culture. Potential metrics in this area include educator perceptions of professional culture, percentage of teachers reporting they receive valuable feedback in their instructional practice, employee satisfaction and retention rates, and the percentage of employees who feel involved in decisions in their schools. Potential strategies here include improving engagement, sustaining competitive compensation and benefits, continuing early proactive recruitment and hiring each year, which is something that we found a lot of success with last year. Maintaining alignment of professional development with instructional priorities, strengthening our mentoring structures for our newer teachers, developing stronger pipelines for recruitment, including with our local teacher education programs, and also continuing engaging employees regarding decisions that impact them. Priority 5. This, I know, is near and dear to the hearts of several people on the committee, mine included. Fiscal and operational sustainability, managing resources strategically and sustainably to deliver high-quality instruction and safe learning environments. First of all, we need to obviously have balanced budgets that meet our net school spending requirements, that fund our priorities, and that equitably allocate resources across schools according to their enrollment. That long-term facility and technology investment plans would be in place with annual benchmarks. And for potential strategies in this area, to continue to get engaged in collaborative, proactive planning between the committee, the administration, to inform the annual budget development process, to adjust fiscal investments in response to changes in enrollment, programmatic needs, and available resources, and to partner with city, state, and philanthropic entities to expand sources of funding for our programs. And this will be even more critical with the uncertainties at the federal level. All right. So to kind of foreshadow what we will be moving into in the coming months, that at least there will be collaborative groups working on each of these strategic priorities. And in the case of priority one, we'll really be making use of a lot of structures we already have. Our principals meet regularly. We have a Malden leadership team that includes all the administration in the district that meets on a monthly basis. We have our school instructional leadership teams, grade level teams, and then with regards to our community and school committee feedback, you can anticipate that on March 2nd, April 6th, May 4th, I'll be coming back to you with updates regarding the work that's happening. And then also we'll be having gatherings of community and caregivers to get their feedback and input on various parts of the plan, along with engaging with our school councils and our advisory councils as well. The Special Education Parent Advisory Committee, as well as our English learners, our district PTO, et cetera. And then in April and May, refining metrics based on that feedback, based on your feedback, to have a near final draft to bring before you before the end of the spring. And that's what we will be anticipating, and that's what we'll be endeavoring to do. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it over to you for questions.
Questions of the team? Any questions? Ms. Horty.
Dr. Sippel, question for you. Sorry, it's a long presentation. I got to go back. 2 questions. I know that these are potential metrics, so I know they're not set in stone. I just wanted to give you my 2 cents. For priority number 1, for high expectations to support diverse needs, I appreciate the idea of the mass core requirements, working with what we've developed or are developing through policy between what we already have and what's going to be expected of the state, as well as graduation and post-secondary. That seems to make the most sense to me. I just want to caution you on the state benchmark testing. I think even I-Ready testing and other things like that, we may get a better understanding of. I think that students over time have had such a bad taste in their mouth about MCAS, and I think there's a feeling that now that it doesn't count, the effort isn't at the same level. So I would like us to just think about that when we're looking at that as a testing. I mean, we could obviously compare it with the other testing that we have and the other information, but I would kind of put that like as a second tier. I know that's not exactly what you were looking for, but I wanted to.
No, I appreciate the feedback. And I think there is an important distinction between grades with respect to MCAS, in between grades 3 through 8 and high school. There just is. And
yes.
I mean, I've heard of folks at the state level in the wake of question 2, kind of ask out loud what a next So what will come next as far
Sure.
as assessment? And as you know, with the graduation council and everything else, there's a lot of conversation about that.
I also think that there's, as someone who works in a middle school, I think that there's a lot of eighth grade burnout. We ask eighth graders to take 4 MCAS tests. I don't know why we do that. I don't know why we started doing that to them. It just doesn't feel right or fair. And the eighth graders that I work with, I know are not always thrilled at that. So by the time they get to the last one, they're kind of out of steam. But I do agree with you. I think we get good results from, especially from our 3rd to 6th graders. But I just think if we're looking at it from the bigger picture. I had another question. Under priority 2.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm not sure, I have to like double check what I wrote here. Under the metric for special education, inclusion, and achievement, how are we, so if that's the metric, what's the first part? I'm not explaining this very well.
So
Do
what
you
for,
understand what I'm saying?
for students with disabilities under the state regulations, there are various things that the state looks at to assess the compliance and the effectiveness of our programs. And one metric is both for preschool age students and then for students in grades K through 12. If they have an IEP, the percentage of those students who are participating the majority of their time in the regular school day. That's something just as a general criterion. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with a student who might need more specialized services and be in a substantially separate environment. But it does, overall, the district is considered to be making progress or moving in the right direction if a certain percentage of its students are in a general ed
So
setting.
like an inclusion percentage?
Correct.
Okay.
That's right.
Sorry, I don't think I understood that properly the first time. Can I just make 2 more quick comments?
And then we're going to get to, let's see, Mr. Bernard and then Mr. Piazza.
I'll be quick, I promise. I think it's really important. I know we've talked about attendance trends previously. I think we've talked at an open meeting, we've talked at other times about it. I think it's really important that we focus on where the gap is and who the identified people are. It feels like there's not enough identified people within the district who have a very specific thing that they're doing almost on a daily basis to address attendance. And I love the idea, I always love the idea of a partnership with surrounding colleges and universities to bring teachers and student teachers. We had programs like that in the past that were directly funneling student teachers in. I don't know what happened, I don't know why it's not there, but I think that's really important for us to continue. I know we also have the Grow Your Own program at the high school, and I think we just need to tap into how we're making that a bigger circle between that program, colleges and universities, and back to us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Over to Mr. Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just real quickly, because I had a question about the Commonwealth Preschool Partnership Initiative. What are we doing for outreach to our various parent groups? One of the things that kind of popped into my head was, are we reaching out to, we keep talking about our diverse communities. What's our strategy for kind of reaching out to those communities? Because in the past, certainly during my first term, I certainly got calls from people saying, I have a kid, therefore I want to get them into the school system, and they could not get them into, the early learning center, and they couldn't understand why when they were very active and wanted to go and get their kids into a jump start.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think there's probably a longer conversation that we need to have about preschool just in general. But the Early Learning Center, our preschool program, that's the reason it's funded by DESE, the reason it exists is essentially to provide services for students with disabilities. And then we have some tuition slots in order to provide an inclusion setting for those same students. The funding, the only funding we receive from DESE is a per pupil amount, which is it's a fraction of what we receive for our K-12 students. And it is only for those students who are receiving at least 2 hours of special education service each week. So it's by its nature, it's rather limited in its capacity. What I would say though is that the partnership is intended to work with other preschools in the city, and I believe there's five preschools that we work with, and around having a standard level of quality and curriculum and professional development for the instructors in those programs, so that whether a student goes to our Early Learning Center or one of the other 5 programs, there's a similar experience that they might have. You know, the Commonwealth, the state, you know, if it wants to really improve and expand the impact of preschool, it's going to require a lot more funding.
Thank you. And then just one other question, more of a comment. I do appreciate, I'm really excited to go and see that you guys are doing post-graduation surveys and whatnot, because there's been several times in the past where we've been looking at a program, we've been looking at, you know, certain things, and that would have been a critical metric to have, and past administrations have not been able to provide that, not necessarily due to issues with the school leadership, but just because it wasn't a thing that we were necessarily thinking of. So I appreciate that there's some things going on with that, and I look forward to going and seeing results.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over to Mr. Piazza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Superintendent, for the very detailed presentation. A few quick questions, comments. I want to piggyback on what Member Horty shared about the measures connected to priority area number 1. This is both sort of comment and question. I'm wondering about considering, when I look at these metrics, I see percentage of proficiency or above, right? What I'm wondering about, 2 things, looking at including growth measures as indicators there for priority number 1, and also whether it's growth or proficiency rates, looking at student data disaggregated according to especially the high need subgroups that we serve in Malden. So that was one point of feedback that occurred to me while I was listening to your presentation. I have 2 other points, one about priority number 3. So we talked about quantitative measures when it comes to priority area number 1. Now in priority area 3, we have sense of belonging, right, as an indicator, which I know from my work in schools is critically important, right? If you don't feel a sense of belonging, then you're not ready to learn. The academic learning is much harder. And I was just wondering, and I'll pause here, if the district has existing measures for sense of belonging, or how we imagine getting at that particular indicator.
Potential metric, first of all.
Yep. Yeah.
If I could, Mr. Piazza, kind of go back just on the MCAS.
Please.
Growth, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Growth, it's not just about static, who's above benchmark or not. The growth is critical, because there's so much that we celebrate every day based on the growth that students are making, even if they haven't yet crossed that threshold into being considered, meeting standard. So total resonance there. And then disaggregation as well. In the interest of some brevity, I didn't have all of that on here, but we are extremely, when we say meeting diverse needs, we have to look at the diverse populations and how those diverse populations are actually performing with respect to the whole. On the sense of belonging, I'm not aware of a a consistent measure of sense of belonging that we are using across the district yet. I know there are, we have access to some tools that have surveys. The survey tool that we're using currently has some templates for this kind of thing for students. More to come on that.
Got it. Great. I appreciate your responses there. My last question about the plan is about the collaborative groups. And you talked a little bit about how that would look for priority area number 1, which I heard, but please correct me if this is wrong, about leveraging existing groups, the principals that meet the ILTs at each school. Just broadly, I'd love to hear about how the collaborative groups might work for the other priority areas.
Oh, that's a great question. There within those groups, those folks who have, that's their job to do this kind of planning on a regular basis. Rather than, I mean, they're on a month-to-month basis already focused on a lot of priority 1. But for some of these other things that are more long-term, for example, on special education with priority 2, another one of my goals is the implementation of a special ed program review, and we have an audit also that the school committee called upon the administration to implement this coming spring. And so that will involve focus groups, that will involve collaborative work between administration, educators, parent focus groups to inform that. And so things along those lines, maybe not as intensive as in the case of special education, but for example, with our workforce, our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Sarah McLaughlin, would be working with our labor partners and with administrators and really fleshing out what some of these metrics might be. And we have some of these surveys that are described here are surveys that we already have in place that we're actually in the process of administering now, that we will be able to retool and tweak depending on the metrics that we develop.
Super helpful, I appreciate that.
Thank you. Over to Ms. Spatafora. She'll be followed by Ms. Rose Zyberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Give me 1 second to jump back through here. Just on priority 1, we talk about graduation, and post-secondary enrollments. I'm just curious, how are we going to garner information when it comes to career? Because I don't want to discount the students that make that choice to not enter post-secondary education because career is still success in all of our eyes. So I'm just curious how we're going to implement that in a college and career readiness plan and then garner that information.
So thank you for that question, Madam Vice Chair. I'm not totally sure yet on the enrollment side. I do know that we have access on the post-secondary enrollment side to something that I don't think that we've really made extensive use of, which is something called the, the clearinghouse, National Student Clearinghouse, that I believe more than 95% of colleges in the country are participate in, and we're able to link our graduates with enrollment and whether they've, when they enrolled, how soon after graduation, whether they persisted to a second year, whether they graduated with a degree within 2 or 4 years. And that's very, very, very important data. And if we look in the aggregate especially, we can see some trends that we really want to turn around. On the career side, I know that there could be some compelling models out there of people who've been able to get that response rate either by using, might be an effective use of social media to keep in touch with graduates and what they're up to. I mean, certainly a lot of these things are voluntary after they leave us, right? And so nothing's perfect, but I know that there are districts that have built more of a read on how their students are doing post-graduation, even if they haven't gone to college or university.
Thank you. I don't know if that, if we can look at adding alternate email addresses into Aspen for like our seniors to say, okay, because we're going to lose our Malden
Wait,
PS.
yes. I should say we do have a survey that we administer for our students with disabilities. That's something that we are required to do. And we've actually, I think, our response rate increased this last year, if I'm not mistaken. By about 20%, Assistant Superintendent McDonald. So that doesn't mean that that's necessarily the model that would be effective for everyone, but we do have some models, even internally, to look at for that.
And then just lastly, when we talk about our deep partnerships, I just don't want to discount, and I don't think you meant for it to come across this way, but when we say like we want people to look at Malden Public Schools, we want them to send our kids here, but I also don't want to discount what vocational schooling offers. So when we say like we have a Voc right up the street, but we want them to come here, well, we're not offering vocational schooling.
We're not offering Chapter 74 vocational education, correct?
Yeah. So I don't know. It bit me a little bit in
Thank
that.
you. Thank you for being honest. I will say, having been in the Commonwealth now for 8.5 years, that I have anecdotally met many young people who went to a vocational program not because they wanted to become a plumber or an electrician, but because of a perception that the school had certain other qualities that they thought they could not get in their regular high school. And I just want to make sure students who are choosing that are choosing it for the reasons you're describing and not for other reasons that we have a lot more control over.
Sure. And then just lastly, when we talk about the plan development and community feedback, I'm just curious how much of this, so this is obviously our 5-year plan? Would you say it's 5-year, not 3-year? How much of this information can our school site councils utilize when developing their SIPs on a yearly basis? I mean, I guess I'm asking a question that is almost answered, like I'm hopeful that they are going to garner, and we're going to get that information back from them as well and work collaboratively. But I guess my question is, how collaboratively?
I would anticipate for this year, especially that, similar to last year, that our school improvement plan templates would focus on priority 1 and then on attendance as well, which would be related to priority 3. Some of these other issues that are much more structural across the district and not necessarily school-specific, whether it be our workforce or the overall financial sustainability of our system, or how we design the special ed program across all of our schools. Certainly we'll be able to get feedback from school councils or parents in general, but they may not have as relevant of a formal role in informing those particular plans, or it may not be as contextually relevant to the school plan process that they're already engaged in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over to Ms. Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of comments and then a quick question. On priority 5, while I am all in favor of preparing balanced annual budgets, I would like us to continue working our efforts with the city, with the state on Chapter 70 funding, so we actually, at some point, will actually be able to spend more than the bare minimum, which is what net school spending is. They set the minimum. I'd like us to be able to be a city that can actually spend more on our schools. Just putting that there. And priority 1, I just want to thank you for, I'm glad to see about the percentage of graduates meeting Mass Core requirements with the minimum target GPA. I know you have been at our meetings when we've been bringing that up as to what is it really showing. So I appreciate that you included that in there, knowing that that will also jump into what our competency requirements are going to end up being. So just thank you for including that. And then just quick questions on, can we clarify with CPPI, which I'm a little bit familiar with, is that geared towards helping the staff working with the students, or is there direct one-on-one work done with students, with people? And also for the groups that are currently being, receiving this, are they all center-based, or are there any that are, I'm sure there must be EEC licensed, like, are there any other EEC licensed home organizations, home groups that are receiving CPPI?
So,
There are, thanks for the question.
Thank you.
And Assistant Superintendent McDonald is much more familiar with those details than I am, but I think in general, they're not home-based caregivers, to my understanding, that are involved. And I don't know if that's true across the state, but for our particular grant, the entities that are written into the grant to participate in that professional learning and curriculum development are all preschools.
They have to be a classroom-based, and you apply basically per classroom for the grant funding. And it is professional development, it is materials, we do provide some services. A lot of these preschools have a lot more hours than we do, and families need that. So it allows some of our families to be serviced in those preschools, which is much more convenient for some families. It also, we are doing a lot of the same curriculum, so when the kids, they're all gonna end up with us, well, not all of them, but most of them will end up with us in kindergarten, so that we're all on the same page when they show up. They have the same rigor, the same curriculum, the same trajectory of development.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Just a question from the chair. Is there a cost to pull this together, and if so, what?
That's a really good question, Mr. Chair. The idea, first of all, is, I believe, found on that priority 5 to adjust our fiscal investments in response to changes in enrollment, programmatic needs, and available resources. So we could have a strategic plan with certain aspirations that may have to be on hold until the funding environment improves.
I'm talking about the plan itself. Do we have a consultant coming in to help us do this, or is this being done internally?
So we have, there's actually a consultant that the district retained before I arrived, and she, pro bono to this point, has just been informally consulting. And for this purpose, there was an RFP that was developed back in, I believe, in 2023. And she has been very, very helpful because she had done some work with the previous administration. This has very little continuity, to be honest, with what was done under the prior administration. But there is no additional cost for the planning itself, unless no additional cost except for things that we already have funding that is available to us. So, for example, potentially to pay stipends to some educators to do some after-school planning or participate in meetings like the AI working group that we have educators involved in. But no significant cost outlay for the planning itself.
Okay.
For the special education program review, that's a little bit different, but overall for the plan itself and the development of the plan, I don't have envision of a need for significant fund.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, everyone, let's see now. Let's take a look at these motions and resolutions. So, Ms. Spatafora, you first want to discuss the NRT contract.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to let Mr. Piazza know that normally motions and resolutions is not the Jen Spatafora show. It just so happened that there's just a lot of stuff with my name tonight. So, an RT contract.
So back in June of 2023, we entered into a contract with NRT to provide transportation in and outside of district for our special education students. That contract, as was our previous contract that we entered into back in 2018, a 3-year contract with 2 one-year optional extensions. So with the 3-year contract coming to an end, we have the option to do a 1-year extension to, if the committee so chooses, for a multitude of reasons, I would say, if we were interested in just having another year and possibly looking around, if we are absolutely happy, let's just keep the ball rolling, or...
I presume you're recommending.
I am not actually making a recommendation tonight.
Okay.
Only because I would like a little bit more information. It kind of came to me, and we haven't had a chance to meet internally, but I do have some questions, only because the student enrollment data has just come out on DESE, and it shows a decrease in enrollment, and I'm just wondering how much that affects our transportation. And what is built into the NRT contract does have a 26-27 financial data based on students, and I believe it was the amount of buses and vans. So I haven't had a chance to meet with Ms. Mertz and the superintendent.
So is this more informational? How did this end up here?
Well, it's more informational. It was coming out because, I mean, we don't like to push too far up to the end of contracts. This contract is going to end in June. So
Okay.
if the committee decides not to, this is essentially the time that we need to really, we probably should have done it actually a couple months back.
Okay.
We have always utilized the 1-year extension, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I just think we may want to table and just get some more information before we make that decision at a February meeting.
Okay. All right, team, why don't you start preparing to vote on this at the February meeting, okay? So between now and then, start doing your due diligence on it. All right, so we need do we need a motion at table? Or just hold it
I
over?
mean, I'll make a motion.
Please.
So motion to table until February 2nd meeting.
All right, that was seconded by Mr. Bernard. Any questions on that, everyone? Okay, hearing none. Let's call the roll. Wait, I think, does Ms. Macklin have a question?
She does. I'm so sorry, Ms. Macklin.
That's quite all right. So my question is, for the February meeting, are we going to have additional information about contract pricing? If we're going to send it out to bid, what are we voting on in February exactly?
Whether or not to extend 1 year or not, that's what I anticipate happening. So, Ms. Macklin, what I would suggest is between now and then to speak with Ms. Spatafora and/or Ms. Mertz to answer any questions that you may have about it. And then when we get to the February meeting, we can discuss it further and potentially take a vote on what we should do going forward.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay. Please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. If I may, Ms. Macklin, I believe our clerk did send out the contract to the members today, so you should have a contract that was the most recent that has the extension in it, along with the financial information that we'd be required to pay. And then I just want to be clear, when it comes to our transportation contract, we don't go out to bid necessarily. It's actually one of the contracts that is exempt from Chapter 30B, Massachusetts General Law, in regards to procurement of services. And in the past, I'm not saying that we don't go out to bid. We don't have to if a vendor presents an extremely good price, that we are happy with the price and the services. So I just wanted to be clear on that,
that we don't, and in years past, we actually did not go out to bid. The vendor said, we are going to offer you this. It was substantially lower than other providers, and included the ability to provide transportation for the amount of students needed, which is fairly high.
Okay, so we have the motion, we have the second. Let's do this.
Mr. Drummy? Yes. Mr. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Horty? Yes. Mr. Piazza? Yes. Mr. Bernard? Yes. Mr. Rose-Iberg? Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. All right, next up, let's take a look at these subcommittee assignments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just some background, the chair and I start working on subcommittee assignments a couple months back. I think everybody I had reached out to, I had asked what your interests were. And then along with that, in meeting, we were looking at the subcommittee names and what they entail, along with, actually, I'm going to back up even further for those watching. So the school committee has standing subcommittees, and those are subcommittees that are in our rules that we have, and it pertains to the role of a school committee member. We focus on budget, we focus on policy, we focus on technology, but then we also have ad hoc committees, and that's at the needs of the committee. We've had ad hoc committees that focused on equity and opportunity, calendar. So when looking at these subcommittees, we realized that a few of the subcommittees, for instance, budget. Well, we don't strictly handle a budget, we handle finance. We look at everything that encompasses the spending of the district. So you'll see that there is going to be a recommendation, and I will be making a motion to suspend, I'm drawing a blank, docket rules, to make some name changes this evening. One is policy and procedure. We talk a lot about establishing policy, creating policy, amending policy. The procedural part really lies in the hands of the superintendent and his cabinet and those that report into him. Technology and student services. The student services part gets really iffy in what we're doing. So really that subcommittee has been focusing on technology in the classroom, and I guess inadvertently it is supporting the student services in technology, but student services in such a broad term, so having it attached to a subcommittee, I think student services can fall under many different scopes, policy, finance. And then lastly, ad hoc subcommittees. The implementation of a new subcommittee called Teaching and Learning. About 7 years ago, when I first came on to the committee, we did have an academic subcommittee at one time that was dissolved, so we thought it would be really great, and also speaking with the superintendent, having an assistant superintendent of teaching and learning to really dive into, especially because there's a lot of cross when it comes to, we're talking about technology in the classroom with curriculum. So what you see other than your assignments based on your interests is also some minor changes in names, as well as just some overviews on what that subcommittee would be doing.
Okay, questions of the team? Any questions? If not, you want to make a motion, right?
Yes, so I have 5 motions to make this go smoothly, but it sounds like.
Ms. Rose-Iberg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And looking at thank you for sending the background info too. So looking at the policy and procedure, The current definition for procedure is actually school committee procedures. So where would that go? So it's not procedures that happen in the schools. It says it's jurisdiction pertaining to district policy manual, school department regulations, and school committee procedures.
And most
So
of
how
our
we
procedures are actually
work our-
policy.
So just
The
saying,
way
so our
that
school
we
committee
act is
procedures will-
ingrained in the policy.
Okay.
So I guess
Just to
we
be
could-
sure, so just, we all know that it's not just us doing policy that is, you know, what the graduation requirement's gonna be, what this, it is, also will be the policies. Technically, our procedures will become our policy.
And most of like our rule book, our procedures that are essentially came out of our policy. So
Just to be sure that we all understand that will still be part of policy, would be in that. And just putting it out with after hearing the presentation from the superintendent, I've got to look back which one you were saying, for priorities. Fair access to opportunity, priority 2. So, and then I look at dissolving equity and opportunity and just putting it out there if it's worth a discussion or not, because where that's a priority, maybe we do still want to keep something along those lines going.
So I think when, I have my notes in front of me, and I have that noted. When we were working in equity and opportunity, we found that most of the stuff fell under policy. And that was, and we kind of, I don't want to say it was a sticky situation, but I think we all recall who are sitting up here, when the AEAP program, it was being worked on in equity and opportunity. However, it was a curriculum, it was policies.
Yep.
So it kind of got a little, it got difficult. So I think moving equitable, almost ingraining it in policy, that every school is going to do X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rosenberg. Ms. Macklin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Spatafor, I didn't realize that you were going to have 5 motions, and I don't know if I perhaps should have waited to bring up some of the comments with each of the motions, but I'll present it now. So firstly, you know, due to my work responsibilities, I won't be able to serve on the sick bank. And so, you know, this term, and unfortunately, I'll have to respectfully decline that assignment. So I just wanted to be on record with that. But to echo what Ms. Rosenberg was discussing about the equity and opportunity, I also had concerns about that and some of the proposed subcommittee changes. I do think that some of those do warrant a discussion with the full committee, specifically around the dissolution of student services, equity and opportunity. I just want to make sure that we're structuring Malden Public Schools that truly aligns and reflects the needs of all of the students. And when I think about student services, it's really about access and support, which includes, you know, yes, our advanced learners, but our special education learners, mental health, wraparound services. All of that work really aligns with equity and opportunity. And I think we're just doing our students a disservice by not having some sort of committee that will address the needs of our most vulnerable learners. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, Ms. Spatafor, I think everybody has had this for some time, right? Have you not? Friday, okay. All right, Ms. Spatafor. I mean, Ms. Macklin, are you asking us to hold this over then until the next meeting? And if so, will you be in attendance to further discuss?
Oh, absolutely. I'll be in attendance. I mean, unfortunately, I had surgery last month. My husband's unwell this weekend, so I'm not able to be there in person, but I'm certainly will be there on the 26th if we want to put it on the docket. or for the February meeting. I just think that it warrants a discussion from the full committee
Yeah. and
about
based
what's
on-
important to us. Equity and opportunity is something that's at the core of my being.
Yeah, it's never met since its existence, so, but we just want to make sure that, based on what you've said, that, we afford an opportunity to do this in person. So I don't think it would be held the 26th. We'll take a look at it. Most likely, it would probably be February 2nd. But what I would encourage you to do, Ms. Macklin, as well as anybody else here tonight, is to contact us, between now and then to further discuss, to see if we can figure out a path forward. But I know Ms. Spatafor has done a lot of work on this, so, let's try to nail this down at the February meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, and I certainly respect that. I just in, it was stated that some of the committees overlap, and I do see that, but I just think that it's important that equity and opportunity is a standalone committee.
Got it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So, Ms. Macklin, I can guarantee that you'll chair that committee?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, let's hold this over then. Ms. Spatafor, was there a motion? There wasn't a motion to approve, right? No. So motion to table, Ms. Spatafor, seconded by Ms. Rose Iberg. I figured we're going to take it up in February. Do you want to ask that now? Please, yeah, sure.
I don't know, I know there are 5 different steps. I don't know if there are parts of it that we could actually act on tonight, rather than hold everything over.
No, we're going to
Are
hold
there
it
any
over.
pieces?
Yeah, I think we hold it over based on Ms. Macklin's concerns, which I didn't fully get all of them, so I want to have a chance for her to be able to express that between now and February 2nd.
And with that understanding, then, do we hold to what our old assignments were?
Yes.
So those still, I don't know what because we're all new, so poor Peter.
Yep.
So the old ones will hold for right
Yes.
now? Okay, thank you.
All right, let's call the roll. Table. You, seconded by Ms. Rose Iberg. Okay. Motion to table. Motion by Mr. Drummy, seconded by Ms. Rose Iberg.
Mr. Jemmy? Mr. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Spatafora?
No.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Horty? No. Mr. Piazza? Mr. Bernard? No. Mr. Rose Iberg? Yes. Mayor Christensen?
No. What do you have?
4 noes.
In 5 yes?
So it passes.
All right, so 5-4, that will carry over until February 2nd, okay? All right, next up, let's take a look at this donation to Correlats. Let's see what's going on here.
Donation. Well, so on January 5th, we were honored to have the Malden Chorus, the Malden High School Chorus, Choral Arts Society perform at the inaugural ceremony. And not only was the community impressed and elected officials impressed, but clearly our mayor was impressed, who has made a generous donation to the Malden High School Choral Arts Society in the amount of $100. So I would like to make a motion that we accept this donation.
Seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any questions? Okay, let's call the roll.
Mr. Drummy? Yes. Ms. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Horty? Yes. Mr. Piazza? Yes. Mr. Bernard? Yes. Mr. Rose Iberg? Yes. Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. Next up, proposed calendar. Ms. Spatafora.
Thank you again. So Superintendent Sippel, in collaboration with the MEA president and the union, has developed the 2026-2027 school year calendar that you have all received in your packet as well as emailed to you. And not that we don't always work with our union, but specifically this year, because the contract does state that our educators will not start the work year prior to the Monday before Labor Day. However, this coming Labor Day in September is a little bit later. It falls on the 7th. And had we had started school the Monday before that, it would have been the 31st of August, with then the next day off because of the state primary. Therefore, the proposed start date for the 2026-27 calendar year, start date for educators will be August 24th. A start date for students in 1 through 12 will be August 26th. And the start day for our pre-K and kindergarten will be September 2nd. And if you're looking at the calendar, I wish I had shared it for those at home. I'll make sure that this gets up as soon as it's approved. Students will go to school the 26th, 27th, 28th, so 3 days. Come back to school the following Monday. Have September 1st off for the state primary. Come back to school Wednesday, Thursday. Have the Friday off before Labor Day, as we always have, and then Labor Day. So it's a little bit of a jumble, but if we hadn't done it this way, we would have been getting out of school really late in June. We would have really pushed up to without snow days, I believe the 21st of June, 22nd of June, so then factor in 5 snow days into that, and we could have been potentially looking at rolling up close to that July 1 date, and nobody wants to be students, educators, anybody. So I really appreciate the work that was put into working collaboratively with our teachers union, and I would like to make a motion that we adopt. I do have a question from my chair. Just in regards to the January dates, we have Martin Luther King Day off, and then the following Monday, Professional Development Day. Similar to what we had today, a PD day, and then next week, Martin Luther King Day. I'm just curious, I feel like those back-to-back Monday offs after parents have had their kids over winter break, it could get a little, I'm not saying we don't love our kids, but just to come back to school for a couple weeks to then have a couple Mondays off. I don't know if there's any possibility of pushing that PD up a week to like February 1st to break up those, Martin Luther King Day junior holiday, and then 2 weeks later a PD day, and then 2 weeks later we're going out on February vacation.
So I don't have my notes in front of me. We looked at a lot of different options for the PD days. We definitely wanted to make sure that it was scheduled not abutting the winter break, that people would have a chance to come back, and then, like we did today, they had a full week of school under their belts, and then they were able to come and really focus on professional development, and it was not vacation. It was professional development. As far as those 2 dates, having a little bit of time between the winter vacation and then those 2 dates, and then having 2 more full weeks before the February break, I think that was the idea, was to have 2 full weeks after the winter break and then 2 full weeks before the February break. So I think that was the rationale.
Okay, I just know January we do our access testing, and that's coming into play, so I was just curious about just this kind of break, but it was just a suggestion that I felt would benefit students as well.
Great.
Questions from the team? Ms. Horty?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Vice Chair, I had the same question. Why are we not having any PD in March, which is well known as the longest month in school ever? I know we have limited PD days. I also know that the MCAS window opens then, but January feels a little crowded already.
So the rationale partly is that we have mid-year data that we're able to access and to dig into with our teams, and make adjustments and make tweaks to, so that that training is actually informing and supporting the instruction going on for the second half of the year. Whereas if we delayed it until March, certainly it could impact instruction going on in the fall, but there would be a more limited benefit to the instruction for the rest of this school year if we waited until March to do it. And I think especially, you mentioned the testing window that does open in March. Any adjustments we're able to make and training that's relevant and providing it in January, we would have just more time to put it into place and implement it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions, queries, qualms, concerns? If not, you making the motion? Motion by Ms. Spatafora, it's been seconded by Mr. Bernard. Any final questions? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Drummy? Mr. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Horty? Yes. Mr. Piazza? Yes. Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Mr. Roseibert? Yes. Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. All right, next up, personal privilege left to right, Mr. Drummy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, the Ferryway School PTO and School Site Council meeting will be tomorrow night, 6 o'clock on Google Meets. If you go to the Ferryway School PTO webpage, you'll see the connection there. Thursday of this week, which is the 15th, Ferryway is having a talent show, and I believe there's several judges on this committee, if I'm not mistaken. So I look forward to seeing you there that night, and the kids are really excited about this. Principal Stahl asked me to let parents know, we'd love to have you to come. You can't get into it was shut off as of Friday, so no more active participants. So anybody that's in it is already scheduled in it, and they'll be there on Thursday. And then last but not least, starting February 20th, January 20th to February 13th, they're having a paper drive for the Ferryway School. So napkins, anything they can use for to help kids having parties or movie nights or whatever. Any kind of paper products, please feel free to bring it to the PTO in the office. There is no school Monday because it's, again, we just discussed it, Martin Luther King Day. And last but not least, I want to wish my wife a happy anniversary, which is this Wednesday. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Peter.
Thank you. Okay, just press your light if you want to speak. Mr. Piazza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the reminder. So a few updates from the Salem Wood School. We just mentioned it a minute ago, access testing for multilingual learners in WIDA levels 1 through 4 will begin on Tuesday, January 12th. That'll run through Friday, February 13th. Ms. Van, Principal Van, asked me to thank families in advance for ensuring that students get to bed early ahead of their testing, come to school on time, and do their very best on access testing on their scheduled day. A few updates about events from the Salem Wood FTO, the Family Teacher Organization, as we call it. January 14th, the FTO is having its monthly meeting. That's at 6 p.m. Anybody who's interested in joining can email mps, as in Malden Public Schools, .salemwood.pto. So PTO is in the email, but FTO is what we call it. That's just what it is. mps.salemwood.pto @gmail.com if you're interested in getting involved. January 16th, the FTO has a movie night for grades 1 through 4. January 20th is the Cosplay Social with Malden Cosplay. That's grades 7 and 8, 5 to 6:30 p.m. in the middle school cafeteria. And then finally at Salem Wood, January 23rd, grades 7 and 8 have their dance from 6 to 8 p.m.
Thank you. What was the date, the cosplay?
January 20th.
All right, very good. Anybody else? All right, let's go, let's see, Ms. Roseibert.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
we'll go to
Chair.
Ms. Horty.
Thank you. Over at the Linden, this Thursday and Friday, this is a new thing for them. They are putting up a set of one-act plays. It's their one-act play showcase. You can get tickets on Facebook and on Parent Square. There will be no tickets at the door. So please, show a lot of support for them. Student tickets are $5, adults are $7. Again, you can get it on Facebook and Parent Square. Doors will open at 6:30, and your tickets will be at will call. SDG will be selling candygrams that you can send out to the different students, and there will also be concessions or sales. So again, doors at 6:30, no tickets at the door. They are getting ready for their next stuffy sleepover, which is when the kids bring their stuffed animals to the school, and they get to sleep over in the school building. That's going to be Saturday, January 31st. That's for K-4 students. It's a free event, and that's going to be from 1 to 3. Students bring in their stuffed animal, and then they get to make a craft. Typically, they get a shoebox and get to decorate that to make like a little bed so that their stuffy can be nice and comfortable for the weekend. So they are looking for donations of shoeboxes, fabrics, any kind of materials that you can think kids might be able to use in order to decorate those shoeboxes. After that, when they make the shoeboxes, the stuffies then go into the shoeboxes. They get a story read to them, and the stuffed animals then are returned on Monday. Be looking for forms that are going to be going out for that event pretty soon. February 2nd is going to kick off their readathon. The theme this year is Read Around the World. Be watching for information on Spirit Days that will be during that readathon. February 4th is their book character day. They knew that one already, so you get to dress as your favorite book character. February 4th, we will be walking to school again. So the Walk to School event, some of you do it all of the time. Meet at 7:35 at Steve's Corner, which is one of the usual spots, but they are changing it this time. The other location for meetings is at Eli's Garage, which is right where is the corner of Beach and Salem. They're seeing if that might be easier for some folks to get there. So again, that's meeting at 7:35 to give time for everybody to get to school. And just on a very personal, I want to give a shout out to Ward 8 resident, Linden alum and Malden High alum, Harrison Zyberg, who right now, I'm sorry, honey, I didn't make it home in time. His one-act play that he wrote called Exit is getting a cold read done tonight by a theater group on Long Island. Just thank you for everybody who worked on him getting his English language arts skills going. He's done a lot of work. This is the second time he's had this show go up, so it's exciting for him. And I'm sorry I didn't make it home, but break a leg. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Horty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Forest Hill PTO is sponsoring the Winter Ball Dance for students in grade 3 and 4 on Friday, January 28th at 6 p.m. It is a drop-off and pickup event. Everyone else has already mentioned the district-wide events, but a shout-out should go to the ELL team and access testing leaders, especially Forest Hill Zone, Ms. Hovenetian. I think I said that right, I'm sorry if I didn't, who has been preparing and organizing and getting everything together to get that started tomorrow. And I have to mention how fortunate we are to have a hero principal in our district, in Mr. Weldi. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Weldi literally went into a burning building and rescued his neighbor's pets. So big shout out to him, because I know. There's only certain people in the world who can do that, and we're lucky that he works with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Macklin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just quickly, Belle of the Ball is back. I'm accepting referrals now. Belle of the Ball is for junior and senior prom goers who may not otherwise be able to afford the expense of prom. They will set you up with a gown, shoes, accessories, your personal shopper. The date for the red carpet is April 11th. However, there is an early referral incentive. So if you get your referral in by January 30th, you're able to pick your time for April 11th, whether it be morning, midday, or afternoon. All students need a referral. You can certainly reach out to me. I'll send the flyer to the counselors and faculty at Malden High School. And Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spatafor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Things are quiet in BB at the moment, so I have more district-wide information. And the first is there is a current open seat on the Northeast Metropolitan Regional Vocational School Committee. And if you are a Malden resident and interested in applying, the school committee, along with the city council, will be conducting interviews and selecting a candidate. The application process, all resumes and letter of interest has to be returned to the clerk of the school committee, Ms. Langston, sitting here next to me, alangston@maldenps.org by Friday, January 16th at 4 p.m. And then interviews and a formal vote will select a candidate for appointment on Monday, January 26th at 6 p.m. here in City Council chambers. In addition, we have the Malden CPAC invites families, educators, and community members to attend Pathways to Friendship, a special presentation by Phoebe Goodman and Jonathan Spiller from the ARC of Massachusetts, and that is Thursday, January 15th at 6 p.m. at the Linden School and on Zoom. In addition, the CPAC is holding their board election, so if you're interested in being on the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee, there are numerous positions open that you can nominate yourself for or be nominated for: president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and advisory board members. And those nominations are also due January 15th. And you can email cpacmalden, so SEPACMALDEN @gmail.com. And the election date and time will be January 29th at 6:30 p.m. here at City Hall, room 105, and also on Teams. And I think that is all I have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Spatafora. Just two comments from the chair. First, this Sunday, January 18th, from 3 to 6 p.m. will be the annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, which will be held at the Emmanuel Baptist Church, located at the corner of Hillside Avenue and Eastern Avenue. All are welcome to attend. It's one of my favorite events of the year, and I hope you'll all attend. Secondly, I do want to remind everyone, and I'll be doing this leading up to the vote, but March 31st will be a day that will determine where we go moving forward. So that will be the date of the special election to determine whether or not we are willing to increase our taxes, and that will be from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. So a regular election, hours and locations. They'll be held at every ward and every precinct. I would encourage everyone leading up to that to go on at www.cityofmalden.org/override. That has become our repository of everything that members need to know about this important vote. So again, March 31st, 2026, which is a Tuesday from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. And again, I don't think I need to restate the importance, but from the formula to us just being notified that our summer jobs program for our youth is going to be reduced 36%, to us losing roughly $850,000 from the community mitigation fund that we were getting from Encore, the beat goes on. You know, we have alerted our delegation. I believe they're doing all that they can, but unfortunately and ultimately, this will come down to us. So again, please get informed. I respect anyone that cannot support this, but I just want everyone to be informed before they make their decision. So cityofmalden.org/override. With that being said, we'll now entertain a motion to go into executive session. Motion by Mr. Drummy, seconded by Mr. Bernard. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Drummy? Mr. McCarthy? Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza? Mr. Bernard? Mr. Roziberg? Mayor Christensen?
Yes. School committee will now be in executive session. All right, everyone, the school committee is back. We'll entertain any motions from the members. Ms. Spatafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that we approve 3% COLA retro July 1, 2025 for the BB site coordinator.
Second.
Most
Seconded
BB
by-
site coordinator.
Seconded by Mr. Drummy. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Drummy? Yes. Mr. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin, Ms. Horty? Yes. Mr. Piazza? Yes. Mr. Bernard? Yes. Mr. Roziberg? Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. Now we'll entertain a motion to, motion by Mr. Drummy, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Go Pittsburgh. Hereby adjourned.